fuck your protein powder.
What's the next step? What do I do next?
If you're not drinking a protein shake immediately after your workout, you're leaving massive muscle gains on the table. That is exactly what many people believe to be true about post-workout nutrition, because it's a piece of advice that's been floating around for years. In fact, it's a piece of advice that I would give people. And I'll admit it, I used to be one of the guys who chugged a shake immediately after every workout, and I still do it every now and then. And honestly, I did it with the goal of taking advantage of something known as the anabolic window. The anabolic window is the concept that there is a very short period of time after your workout where your body is primed to absorb more nutrients and build muscle. Because of this window of opportunity, it was believed that consuming protein and carbs immediately following a workout would maximize muscle repair, recovery, and growth. And if you didn't really get the nutrients right away, that prime opportunity for muscle growth would be lost. But there's a lot of new research that suggests that this process might look a little bit different from what was originally thought. So today, I'm going to dive into the topic of protein timing and explain whether it's really necessary to get protein right after your last rep to maximize your results. So make sure you keep watching. Do you actually need to sprint to the kitchen or your bag and chug a protein shake, one of these guys, immediately after your workout? That's what I'm going to be covering today. But first, a little introduction. If you're new to my channel, my name is Andres Ayesta. I'm a registered dietitian who helps busy dads, for the most part, like myself, improve their nutrition, drop excess fat in a way that's realistic and also sustainable. If that sounds like you, make sure you hit that subscribe button because I release a new video every single week. And if you enjoyed this one, make sure you check out some of my previous ones because they're jam-packed with tips that you can implement immediately. Now let's jump into today's topic, starting with a definition of what the anabolic window is. I briefly explained this at the beginning of the video, but I wanted to give you a little bit more information so you understand exactly what this is, because this concept is very essential to what I'm going to be talking about today. Nutrient timing, it's a very popular nutrition strategy that involves consuming specific nutrients like protein and carbohydrates at certain times around exercise to maximize things like acute performance, long-term results, and also even recovery. Now, timing of your nutrition around training is believed to be relevant due to something called the anabolic window, which is a period of time immediately following exercise where your body is particularly receptive to nutrient intake. Particularly for those guys that are trying to build muscle, it's said to be more effective for building quality muscle to consume protein immediately after a workout. When it comes down to protein, which is actually what we're going to be focusing on in this video, the idea is that consuming protein immediately before, not just after, and or after resistance training causes more effective increases in muscle growth than when it's consumed at other times during the day. Biologically, this actually seems very plausible when you think about it, because the increasing muscle protein synthesis, or something called MPS, that happens after resistance training. Muscle protein synthesis is a process by which the body repairs and builds new muscle proteins. So it's a very intricate type of biochemical process. Basically, your body breaks down proteins you eat into the building blocks called amino acids. And these amino acids are used to build and repair your muscles and do a bunch of other stuff in your body, not only making them larger, but also stronger over time. Since muscle protein synthesis just alone with exercise, or specifically resistance training, is heightened post-exercise, it makes sense that consuming more protein during this time could help to build more muscle more effectively. Think of MPS, like I said, as an on and off switch at the muscle tissue level. There's also a greater insulin sensitivity in the post-workout period, meaning that nutrients like glucose and amino acids are more effectively taken up by muscle cells. Now, this enhances the effectiveness of nutrient intake and also promoting recovery and muscle growth. So the concept of the anabolic window, when I actually explain all this jargon and science, it does seem pretty valid, but practically, it may not be as important as many people once thought based on recent research that has been coming out. This is still very, very controversial, guys, and more studies honestly are needed in this area to really understand this a little bit better. And there's honestly a fight between a bunch of people that are studying some of these areas. But a lot of the most recent data shows that as long as you're getting enough protein throughout the day, then the exact timing may not be as critical. Let's look at one example. One recent study that I'm going to pull out of here because it's exactly why I decided to make this video. Look at whether resistance training in combination with different timing of protein intake would have different effects on muscle growth, strength, and performance. The primary outcome, or like the main things that the researchers were looking at, was muscle mass. But they also look at things like upper and lower body muscular endurance, vertical jump height, and some blood biomarkers or some lab tests. All of the participants reporting sleeping at least 7 hours per night, and all of them perform a resistance training plan while consuming a high protein diet, which was defined as 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight every day. Think about 0.8 grams per pound or so. I weigh 180 pounds. That's going to be closer to 160 to 150. One group of participants was assigned to consume 25 grams of whey protein. Imagine like they give you one of these guys with water and whey protein immediately before and also after resistance training. So 25 and 25. While the other group consumed the protein supplements 3 hours before and another 3 hours after training. On days when they didn't train, they met their total daily protein from food sources alone. They didn't really take any whey protein. Their diets consisted of 4 to 7 meals a day, each one containing about 20 to 40 grams of protein, depending on their protein and energy needs. The question is, what happened after 8 weeks? Will muscle mass, leg press, strength, chest press strength, and the number of pull-ups performed increase from baseline? Check this out, in both groups, which means that it didn't matter whether you consumed protein before or 3 hours before or just right immediately before. So there were no differences between the two groups. What this means is that this study adds to other evidence that we have that total daily intake of protein is more important for muscle growth and recovery rather than the precise timing. Now, having a post-workout protein shake might be beneficial, but only because it helps you reach your total daily protein goal. So I'm not saying in here, stop doing that. When 2 diets contain equal amounts of protein and that protein is divided evenly over a few meals per day, there's no difference in muscular adaptations. Now, this brings us to another important question, which is, does protein timing and distribution matter at all? And by that, I mean, well, does it matter that the total protein intake is evenly divided throughout the day? It was also previously believed that there's a limit to how much protein the body can use for muscle building at one time. So eating protein in smaller, frequent amounts throughout the day was thought to be the best for maximizing muscle growth. Another recent study found that consuming 100 grams of protein at one time resulted in a greater and more prolonged anabolic response when compared to the ingestion of only 25 grams of protein in one setting. And this suggested for the first time in a while that larger amounts of protein at one time can still benefit muscle building. Now, this challenges the idea that excess protein is wasted and points to honestly the conclusion that various eating patterns can be effective as long as you meet your total daily protein requirements. So the benefits of spacing out your protein intake might be more what's practical in your daily life rather than a physiological advantage. And what I mean by that is that it's easier for many people to have 20 to 40 grams of protein several times a day, like for me, rather than having 100 grams of protein in one sitting. Now, there's more research honestly needed in this area. And in fact, there's so much, but then there's still a lot needed. But based on what we know right now, I'm going to give you a few key recommendations when it comes down to protein intake for muscle gain and fat loss, so you're at least having some actual actionable information and tips to implement on a daily basis. Number one, you need to make sure you're getting enough protein daily. I made a video about the 30-30-30 program by Gary Brecka, and like people grill me about it because of the fact that I was just simply saying you don't have to consume 30 grams of protein as soon as you wake up, right? You need to make sure you're just simply getting enough protein daily, period. Protein sources obviously can include, and we talked a million times about this, like chicken breast, turkey, beef, pork, fish, such as salmon, tuna, or cod, or maybe even eggs or egg whites, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, and protein powder. And tofu, tempeh, and edamame are great options for people that are plant-based or plant-forward. And you get some protein as well as high-fiber carbs from things like lentils, chickpeas, black beans, and quinoa. The question now becomes how much protein, and I've made some videos about this in the past. So when I really tell you need to make sure you're getting enough daily, what are we referring to? I personally recommend 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. Now, for me, that's about 175 grams because I weigh about 175 pounds. Actually, right now, I'm about a little bit heavier, and my protein goal is going to be around that. Now, if you have a lot of weight to lose, you can use your goal weight if you feel like that protein goal, it's outrageous if you think about it. Then we have your pre-workout nutrition. More than protein post-workout, it may be more helpful to focus on your pre-workout nutrition to make sure you have enough energy to support your training. People sometimes think that protein is the key for muscle growth, but sometimes they sleep on the fact that carbohydrates play an important role as well. When you're having a pre-training energy, a snack or meal, this is going to allow you to push yourself a little bit harder, leading to better results. I had a client who I started adding more carbs before his training, and he started to notice strength differences significantly. I usually suggest that they have a protein and carb-rich meal or a snack 1 to 2 hours before training. But make sure to experiment with different pre-workout nutrition timing to figure out exactly what works best for you and what would actually help you to show up for your workouts with maximum energy. And the last piece is consistency. Getting results ultimately comes down to long-term consistency. Hitting your daily protein goals should be like a no-brainer. Staying consistent with your training and prioritizing your sleep and your stress management are going to be the biggest drivers of results. I know it's the boring stuff, but like stop looking at like shiny object stuff right out there on social media that tells you that you need to do this like magical thing, because there's nothing that works just like good old consistent habits. Now, if you're looking for more guidance on following a high protein diet, including simple meal plans, I have other videos on my channel for free on this topic, and they're actually some of my most watched videos, to be honest. I'm going to drop some links in the description to videos that I recommend checking out, so you can learn a little bit more about protein and get some easy high protein meal ideas to support your muscle growth and fat loss goals. One thing I wanted to make sure that I mention before we finish up, I am talking today about the average person who's busy lifestyle, like a dad that is just basically trying to be fit and get better. I'm not talking about athletes, because I don't want people watching this video and thinking, oh, this dietitian said that you should not have to chug a protein shake after your workout. Because for recovery purposes, for some athletes at high caliber, when their protein energy requirements are so high, you're not going to have a choice but to actually do that. So I don't want you to take this video or your main takeaway from it thinking that you're not allowed to or not supposed to do this. You just don't necessarily have to. Is what I'm trying to say. You can totally have your protein shake. In fact, like I said earlier, I still have it right before or right after my workout sometimes. It makes me feel good. I feel like I'm just honestly supporting muscle growth, even if it's a placebo effect according to research. But it's still like a way that you can definitely do it. It's not going to hurt your process. So something to keep in mind. But that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in into this one for your daily dose of sports nutrition science and myth busting. And I hope you're coming away with this with a better idea of what to prioritize when it comes onto nutrition around training to support your fitness goals, and also that you have some tips that you can start applying right away. Once again, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another video from me. I'll see you again in next week's video.